Hello, Mark, and everybody. Welcome to Southern Summers and Northern Winters. How are you, Mark, this week?
I am very good, Anders. You know, another week living the dream, as they say. Well, someone's dream, maybe not quite mine this week, but work, life.
Yeah.
Still here, still living large, aren't we? So that's the main thing.
The things we do when not traveling.
Yes, this is things we do in between the things we love.
Exactly.
Things we do to do the things we love.
Exactly. Exactly. We were just talking before we started the actual podcast. We were talking about, we both need to do things not really travel related in order to, maintain a living and having a family and a life. Because the thing about making money just by traveling is something that is absolute. It depends on what level you travel, of course, but it's really hard to do. We should probably be honest about that. Yeah,
sure, it is.
Yeah.
Look, I think there's a small amount of people that can do it. And at varying levels.
Yeah.
Because, as we've touched on before, long-term travel or earning money while you're traveling is not earning money and going on holiday, because it's, like we said before, it's totally different. You can't
it is.
live like you're going on holiday. So to earn enough money to travel long-term, like I know people who tell me that they do this on, actually, I've got a really good friend who runs a Thailand website, and she's living in Thailand at the moment, and she tells me she can do this on 2,500 Australian dollars a month.
Yeah.
So that's probably 1,200 euros a month.
Yeah.
She's living on. And she seems to stay in an apartment. Apartment's pretty nice, and just eats local food and does stuff like that. So you can do it on as little as that in Asian countries. You certainly can do it in anywhere like that. Probably South America as well. You could possibly do that, but definitely not Australia, North America, or Europe. That's for sure. So, and she works on a couple of websites that she has, and makes enough coin to live in Asia. And she was making more, much like everyone. Everyone was making more before Google penalised everyone 12 months ago, but that's a whole different subject for
it's a different can of worms. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, but and also like you say, and we've said it before here in the podcast, it all looks very nice and glamorous, but behind the scenes, I've seen families break up because of this. It really looks great, and the photos can be stunning, but it's being an influencer, being a travel vlogger is hard work. You creating content is something that you really have to think about it all the time.
It's a thankless job, I would say, because you often receive no thanks for it, and I must admit I get frustrated because I speak to people who, even from my own town, like I walk my wife to work when I'm home every morning, and this guy I know stopped me. And he said, "Oh, I thought you're still in Thailand," and I said, "No, I've been home for about a week, but I've been keep posting, something every day to drag out my social content." And he said, "Yeah, I've been reading all your stuff and and things like that." And I think, well, okay, I didn't know that because you never hit the like button, so
yeah.
And I must admit that frustrates me a lot.
Yes, it does. Yeah,
I think it doesn't take much to hit the like button if you see it. I try and do it when I see other bloggers' stuff, because it's not just about self-gratification of someone liking your content. If someone on Facebook hits the like button, then that's more likely to spread your content to people that follow that person as
exactly.
well. So it's actually more about a mathematical reach on Facebook's algorithm if people
Yep. I was going to, yeah,
like your posts. So yeah, so I get quite frustrated when people say to me, "Yeah, I see all your stuff on Facebook," and I think to myself, "Well, I've never actually seen you like any of it, and it doesn't take
exactly.
it. So hit the button."
But I think most people, they don't understand this. Only people
No,
like us who work with this stuff all
yeah,
day and every day. We just exactly like you say. Why don't you just like it? Because that
yeah,
will trigger the algorithm, and we will get higher rankings.
yes, definitely.
At the moment, for any listener here, please do like us on Facebook as well, because that will
Yeah.
enable us to provide you with more of the same content. Mark is maintaining our Facebook presence for the podcast, and it's great stuff. I enjoy it, not just because I'm part of it, but because it's just good content, and we hope you would think that too. So please do like
Yes,
us.
definitely.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
definitely.
Speaking of
So
online,
yeah,
yeah. Speaking of
let's
online
kick on.
content, I saw you eating crickets over the weekend. Here, were they
Crickets
tasty?
and grasshoppers.
Yeah,
You know what? When I went to China in September, I said, okay, I'm going to eat a scorpion or I'm going to eat a spider, okay, because I've seen them all the time. So I got to Beijing and I was with Willow and she said she was going to try one too, and I said okay. And then we got to where they were and they were huge, and I went, no, I can't. I can't do it because you know what? My real fear is that if I ate a spider and I bit into it and it was gooey on the inside, like
yeah.
this. I know they're fried, so I know they're not going to be gooey on the. But if I bit into something and it was gooey on the inside, I don't know where I'd go with that. I think I might bring it straight back up.
Yeah.
So when we were in Thailand, we were at this little night market and they were selling grasshoppers and bugs and like larvae and all different sort of stuff like that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to get a bag of grasshoppers and try them out. So she filled up this bag of grasshoppers and put some pepper and seasoning on them for me, and I took them home and I tried a couple of them. I must admit, I only had two of them, and not really because they weren't nice, but they really just didn't have much taste at all because they'd just been fried. So they were
Yeah.
more crunchy than anything. It was just had some grasshopper legs in my teeth I was pulling out
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because the
and
legs
things
aren't
like that.
really, the legs aren't probably. It's just legs. It's like a bone or
Yeah,
something.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was good to give them a try. And if I go back to Thailand next time, I might get more adventurous and try that scorpion or that
Yeah.
spider I was talking about. But yeah, it wasn't the worst thing I tried while I was overseas. When we were in China, I tried sea snails, and they really weren't that nice.
Yeah.
And I only tried that because I was with Chinese people who were egging me on to try it because they loved them. So,
Yeah.
under normal circumstances, they're not something that I would have tried, and they were really big snails too, not like the little ones you see in France. These things were like the size of a slug, like they were huge.
I've often, because you are traveling currently a bit in China, and I've often, as we have been talking, I've often thought about what I would personally do in terms of eating in China, and it's just I'm picky when it comes to meat and seafood, and I know they have a different culture and tradition in China and in many Asian countries. I would be really reluctant to take on anything I wasn't 100% sure what was. So I would struggle. I mean, obviously you've heard of all the very very extreme things that they eat, like snakes and monkey
Yep.
brain and whatnot. I'm sure it's not all that bad, but there are things that culturally would be somewhat difficult for me to eat, I guess. So,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah,
Just in day to day life, I guess, in China, I've never really seen anything that's out of the ordinary. I'm sure there's, restaurants that sell the sort of things you were mentioning, but I
yeah,
assume they sell them for a high price. So for normal people who are just going into a street restaurant or something like that, you really just get your seafood, your chicken, and your pork.
yeah,
Really is
yeah,
for most
yeah,
people. But I do understand what you're saying, and like there's a connotation. Look, I often read ridiculous stuff in Facebook groups. "Oh, I'm going to China and I don't want to eat any cats, and all this sort of stuff like this. And I'm like, there's not people running around killing cats and serving them up,
no, no,
and things like that. There was donkey, I think I've seen maybe. So, but other than that, but then again, I've eaten horse in Kazakhstan. So,
yeah,
I don't know, why
yeah.
don't we eat horse when we eat a cow? Like, why
Yeah,
do we
but
think
I mean,
horse is?
horses. We have a horse butcher in Munich. Still to this day, I mean, the salamis are apparently good. I mean, and up until I would say Second World War, that was pretty common to eat like a horse beef, horse steak, whatever.
Definitely,
Yeah,
definitely. But I remember there was a big outcry a few years ago. They found that Aldi were putting it in sausages or something mixed with the pork, and there was
yeah,
like a huge outcry because we're all eating horse. But I mean, we eat cow, we eat sheep, we eat deer. I don't really see the. It's just because we're not programmed to eat horse,
yeah.
things like that. So we go, well, it's a bit strange, but it's no stranger than eating a cow, really, when you break it down, is it? So
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, the only thing that eating a predator like a croc or in Scandinavia, northern Scandinavia, or here in mid Europe, a bear. A bear can also be something that tastes somewhat different.
I must admit, I have seen bear on sale in Tallinn Old Square, and I reckon at Helsinki Harbour, I reckon I've
Yeah,
seen
something. Yeah, because
bear on sale.
in
Yep.
Finland you can eat bear. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, most definitely. So you do see. But speaking of crocodile, so maybe it was an alligator. I'm not sure. But walking down Koh San Road in Bangkok last week or the week before, they had a crocodile on a spit, like its head was still on, and everywhere from the head down had been scun. So they were just shaving bits of crocodile flesh off if that's what you wanted to try. So yeah, it was quite
Oh,
bizarre.
was it a big one?
No, I wouldn't say it was like Australian sized crocodile. I'd say if anything, it was probably a baby. It might have been maybe a
Okay,
meter long,
okay.
maybe. So yeah, so I don't know whether it was. Yeah, I don't actually know. I kept walking because the guy there was a big sign saying, if you want to stop and take photos, it costs you this. So I thought it was this, and I wasn't quick enough to have my video camera going as I walked.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know whether it said. I'm sure it said crocodile. So but yeah,
Okay.
maybe just a little one from.
So it was their version of a lamb, you know?
Yeah, basically, yeah, on a spit,
Yeah.
ready to go. But other than that, I can't say I've really eaten many strange things. I've tried jellyfish in Thailand. That was
How do you eat that? Is that just
chewy,
like
as you expect.
yeah? They don't do they boil it? Do they
I
just
think
serve
it was fried, but it was like
fried?
marinated in sauce and chucked on a barbecue. But once again, it was just
Yeah. There's something about texture that we in the Western world we're kind of used to. Well, fleshy texture or and it's very psychologic, I guess, because you expect something with, for instance, chicken meat.
yeah,
You're expecting a certain texture and Alex, my wife, when she tasted crocodile, she said it tastes like chicken, but the texture is different,
different.
and so it played tricks on her mind.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
it does. Like,
yeah,
yeah. Sometimes if you think it is something, and you eat it, then your mind can correlate that
yeah,
sometimes. But then once you're told that it's not, you go,
yeah, exactly.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. It's like frog legs in France. Frog legs are
Yeah.
also a bit like chicken, but
Actually, so I have had frog legs as well.
yeah,
I should say that. I had barbecued frog legs in Cambodia, so because they were a French colony, so I found them
yeah.
all right. Have you had frog legs?
No, I have not because I stopped. I was about to eat one, and then I
Yeah.
stopped, and and someone told me that it was frog legs, and oh, sorry, I can't do that. I don't know why. That was the psychology again, because I, I would have probably eaten it without thinking about it, and
Because yeah, it does. It looks like a chicken wing a little bit, like
yeah,
the bit I had. Yeah. So
yeah,
I was sort of like, yeah, okay. Like to an extent, I try and eat stuff if I can.
yeah. Why not? I'm saying why not, and I'm really, really. I'm not adventurous in any
Yeah.
aspect when it comes to food. I'm sorry, but
I think I've got better as I've gotten older. When I was
yeah,
younger, I wasn't either, but I eat a lot of different food now that I would never have eaten when I was younger, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, but that comes with age, and I think, and knowing that's not really going to hurt me, is that the worst that can happen is well, it could hurt me, but
yeah. The only thing is,
depending on where
I
you're
mean,
eating it.
whoever thought of like a scorpion or a spider, big spider, but was that oh, I'm going to fry that and eat it.
All this shock value, like it's all aimed at the tourists. Everywhere you go, like they're walking around with them, on a plate or on like in a case or
Yeah,
on a bit of board pinned up. Like, here you go, you want a spider? Like,
yeah, yeah,
no, I don't.
yeah. No,
Thank you very much. So
yeah,
yeah, that was the crickets were. I mean, the grasshoppers seemed the least intrusive of the things that they were selling where I was that night. So I went, okay, let's try one.
they're saying, in terms of food crisis and how to feed the world in 50 years or something like that, we have to think, in different ways of getting our protein. And insects are probably, and larvae and all these things, that's probably a healthy and nutritious source of protein, I guess. And I really I don't think we're going to sit and eat like recognizable insects and stuff that we don't want. I think it's going to be dried up, powdered, and just put into different context. I don't think I think that's the way we're going to eat in this in the future. I don't think we're going to have like a salad with crunchy crickets on. And you can if you want, of course, but
Yeah.
but I think to people like me, it's probably just going to be like a powder or a paste or something, and we can put it into
Add water
whatever.
to it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's.
Quite
But
funnily, talking about things like that with well, not really. I'm going off a little bit, but I was just watching YouTube before, and Costco. They have Costco in Europe.
no, they don't. No.
Okay. So Costco's like a membership supermarket, a wholesale
Yeah.
supermarket. Anyone could join. I think in Australia, I think it costs you $60 to join Costco. So, and most stuff is sold in bulk there. So if you go to buy a butter, you might have to buy like 5 blocks of butter, or
Yeah.
50 rolls of toilet paper, or that sort of thing. So it's all done in bulk measures to save you
Yeah.
money. But I was just watching this American lady, and there's like a box that they sell for preppers. You know what a prepper is?
Oh
Like
yeah,
in
yeah,
case
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in case
Yeah.
doomsday is coming along.
Yes.
And so this preppers container was in this big plastic drum, and it cost $80 US. And I had a look. They do sell them in Australia, $169, and it has 150 servings. Okay. In it
Okay.
that last 25 years. So and they're just all packet mix where you add water and you can boil them up. But there was like soups and pastas and mueslis and all these type of things. She made everything that was in this preppers kit and tried it out. And she reckoned most of it was really good. And most of it's like the packet pasta that you make on the stove, with the milk
Yeah.
and water sometimes. And, there was different chicken and vegetables or dehydrated stuff that you boil and things like that. Yeah, and it
Yeah.
lasted for 25 years, this thing. So she reckons that there was about 15 meals. So it lasted you about a week if there was like maybe a family of four of you. So I found that quite interesting. I know it's gone off topic, but
No, it's
in the
interesting.
future and things like yeah.
It's rather costly, I would say, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it is. So I think you could maybe more to do with the fact that it lasts 25 years.
yeah, yeah,
Yes, but I mean, you could buy tinned baked beans and spaghetti that would probably last you 25 years
yes,
easily as well,
yes,
and tinned,
yes,
tinned salmon or corned beef or, tuna or whatever you wanted. I guess it would last the same amount of time. But because we're in a world of convenience, they just sell it in a kit and people will probably just buy it and put it in the shed and go, okay, well, something happens. I don't have to actually physically go out and buy bits and pieces.
exactly.
Just in this bucket, and I can just put it in the shed and forget about it, and hopefully World War III or 4 or 5 doesn't come along.
Exactly. Well, it's always good to be prepared, but I mean, we have extra pasta and canned tomatoes and stuff like that in the basement. It's what they say here in Europe is that should something happen, and we're in, next door to Putin, so he's been trying to mess with our infrastructure, which is probably what's going to happen eventually. That electricity or a water supply or something could be disrupted. So what they're advising here is that people should have for at least 3 days of water supplies for the family.
Okay.
Also for pets, and so that's probably we should, and that surprised people. For some reason, people usually don't have enough water, for an entire family for 3 days. That's a lot of water. Yeah,
what would they suggest? That is like 15 liters, 20 liters.
I think 3 liters per person per day.
Per day. So if there was 3 years, 30 liters, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a fair bit of water, really, isn't it?
It is. It is.
To be holding, if you.
Yeah. And water has an almost endless. It doesn't get bad, but
No.
but if it's not bottled under like sterile conditions, it can actually turn bad. So you really shouldn't keep your water in the basement for like 5 years and just drink it. It can turn bad if because you have to be careful with the sterilization and all. So what they suggest is that you either buy bottled water and put it in the basement, and then just keep a supply of water in the basement and just drink from it and refresh your supplies.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but we would just probably go down to the river and boil the water. So yeah, but having for 3 days of food in the basement, I think that's really not. It's not worrying me.
Is it the ISA? Is that the
yes,
river in Munich?
The ISA. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's
Water would be pretty clean, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah, it is.
Blue
Yeah.
when I seen it.
Yeah, no, it's pretty. It comes from the mountains, and obviously it runs through various cities along the way before it even gets to Munich, and so yeah, it's not completely clean, but if you boil it, it certainly would be drinkable. Absolutely,
but it's clean enough that you go, okay,
absolutely.
That looks okay to take home and boil. Like we live next to a river here in a river runs through our town, but the water is pretty brown and murky. I wouldn't say it's polluted. It's just a mud-based river where there's no rock on the bottom. It's just like It's just, when it flows, it just digs up the mud and stuff off the bottom of the river and things like that. So it's a brown looking river.
Are there any wildlife in the river?
There's fish in there. So
okay, well that's a good sign.
Yeah, there's fish and there's always ducks and birds floating around on top of the river. But I think it gets churned up a lot too because we're downstream from a major dam that's about 15 kilometers away. So obviously, when they let the water out of this dam and it comes rushing down the
stirs
river,
up something.
It stirs everything up as well. So it's but yeah, it's definitely. I mean, I used to swim in there as a kid, as you do when you're a kid. We used to jump off the town bridge that came into town. It was about 20 foot up or something like that. And as you get older, and then it dries out, and you can look at the bottom now, and you go, man, that was crazy jumping off there.
Yeah. They do this here as well.
You do these things,
yeah, the kids do this here as well, and they have there are places on the River Isar and some of the side rivers that where they can actually, there are certain, well, it goes down a level a little bit, and the steam can be pretty tough. Or the current, and they can actually surf. So they have like a line, and they hang on to that line, and then they can surf on the river, which looks pretty cool. You can look it up.
I've been to Munich a few times. I've never ever been there to see it. Like, it's always listed when you read about Munich. One of the things to go and see is the people surfing the river. So,
yes. They have surf clubs and everything here in Munich, and we're Central Europe. We're in the mountains, and people think surf clubs. I mean, what? Yeah, but it's a thing.
Do they have them crazy people that go swimming in the middle of winter, like in Munich? Like, is there
they have that as well. Yes,
a frozen club where they where they go.
We have these people as well.
brave souls. I remember being in Poland with some friends, and the couple we were with, her friend was a part of one of these clubs, and we went down and watched her bathe in the Wisła River just down in southern Poland there one day, and there was a whole group of them, and they come out and they're all pink as
yes,
the blood had definitely run to the edge of the body, and things like that. But they recommend that you have a cold shower every morning and things like that.
That's what they say.
Yeah. So, but I can't come to it.
I think it was last winter. I haven't seen it this winter, but last winter there was a guy. We were walking like a Sunday stroll, just down to the river and over the bridge, and just as we do sometimes. And then I was looking from the bridge and down to like a small, a little bay almost with by the river, and literally frozen with ice, and there was a guy with a hammer or an axe, an ice pick or something like that, and he was building like a hole where he could sit, and I couldn't help to stop and watch, and sure enough, as he had this it was almost like slush ice, a hole there, and he sat down, and he seemed to enjoy it. It was just,
sometimes the temperature of the water could possibly be warmer than what it is outside, maybe.
Absolutely.
I don't know what the temperature of the water is in snowy areas in Europe, but often here at times, if you go swimming, off season a little bit, the water can definitely be warmer than the outside temperature. So you get out and you're actually colder when you get out than you were when you're in.
That's why That's why they invented the ox boots, isn't it? Because when the surfers got off from the water, they needed to wear something warm because the air was colder than from where they came. Yeah,
I mean, the thing with swimming is once you commit to going in, and and you go higher than waist level, it's the whole bit of getting in. Like if you just run straight in and dive in, but it's that anticipation level that's cold, and you dip your toe in, and then you get a little bit further, and it's taking you 10 minutes to get in there. When you go, look, you should just run straight in and jump.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Don't overthink it.
No,
it's just
like
jump.
Everything.
Yeah, like everything.
Don't overthink it.
So today, Mark, we were actually going to talk about. We've come way off already, but we should actually talk about, as we do always. We should talk about things or places where we wanted to go, like dream destinations and stuff like that. Because we mentioned that last week, that probably was going to be a good topic. What's your current like bucket list place where you have not yet been, but really
Uh,
would like to go?
I'm going to say Greece, but that's mainly my wife's bucket list destination. I'm not against going to Greece though at
Okay,
all.
yeah,
So Greece will be somewhere that we will definitely go. It's not
yeah.
just a wish; it's something that will happen. I was actually, like I said, looking at flights as early as Christmas time this year because I don't mind winter and off season, and because we're not big beach people. Like I love sitting at the beach and I like it being summer, but I'm not a big have to go in the beach and swim. I did a lot of beach swimming when I was a kid because we used to go holidays. I'd much prefer to go in the pool than the beach. But yeah, so
You're
to
not
go
the
to Greece
biggest
in
beach
winter,
lion, as we would say in Europe. A beach lion
no,
is something, someone who thrives on the beach,
yeah,
and yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
that's it. Like you often see in Bali a lot of leathery, as I call them, leathery
yeah.
looking Europeans who are, who look like they're an old bit of leather, like an old motorbike jacket, but in brown. They've spent as much time as they can laying in the sun and defrosting before they go back to the snow.
Yeah, I like to say
But
they these people, they look like if you can imagine, like a bike where you just throw a leather jacket on.
yes,
So
definitely,
it
and that's what
looks
some of them look like.
like yeah.
And there's a lot of Germans I can tell you who
Yeah,
look
oh,
like that in
absolutely.
Bali.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Definitely, they
I know
love
a
it.
few of those. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so to me, it wouldn't really matter whether I went to Greece in summer or winter. I'd actually prefer winter because I get to the stage where I'm disliking crowds more and more when I go places. Like, I mean, I know, and I think that Greece would be really, really crowded in
Oh,
the summer
yes.
months.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I would actually quite prefer to go in winter or the
Yeah.
shoulder season leading into winter or leading out of winter because as long as I don't have to pull on and put off a snow jacket and a beanie and a pair of gloves, I'm happy to wear a jumper and a pair of pants every day and wander around. And so I think, but I don't know if that'll happen this year because the prices seem a little bit outrageous to
Yeah.
fly Europe at Christmas time. Even though I did find a relatively cheapish flight that was around $2,400 return to Australia, or about, I don't know, what's that, about maybe 1,400
Yeah.
euros or something.
Sounds about right.
But
Yeah.
but you had to go from Greece to Rome to Milan to Amsterdam to Xiamen in China and then to Melbourne on the way home, and it was like
Oh,
42 hours. So it was a little bit
wow.
adventurous for my liking these days. If I could get off for 2 days at each of these places on the way, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
But no, not 42 hours for me.
No,
I don't think so. And
no.
by the time you had 4 or 5 hours, before you go, and then another 4 hours for me to get home, it'd be a 50-hour flight. It'd be over 2 days to get from
Yeah.
Athens back home. So, and good airlines like Qatar wanting $3,500 return, like
Yeah.
to fly to Athens at this time of year. So, I think we'll probably just go somewhere. Might go to another beach destination like the Philippines. But yeah, I definitely would like to go to
To
Greece.
Greece.
I'd like to go to Egypt too, just to see the pyramids.
Yeah.
I think always somewhere where I've always wanted to go. For some reason, I've never really planned a trip there. It's just sort of a bit out of the way, I guess. And this is probably one of the reasons why I've never been to Greece either. Like, because we travel long distances, I try and pick a destination and go to places that are around it because that makes it easy. So if I was going to, Germany, I might go to Holland and
Yeah.
France, Poland, because they're just around it. So to go to Greece is like flying across the other side of Europe from
Yeah. But you are
from
right.
Central Europe,
Yeah.
isn't it? Like, so
You are right.
it's like a whole extra trip.
Yeah.
And I guess if I was to go to Greece, well, then I'd probably go to Turkey as well because they're once again they're next to each other, or
Yeah.
to not Romania. What's the other one? Where Bucharest? No, Bucharest is in Romania.
That's Romania. Yeah.
What's the one next to Romania?
It could be.
Bulgaria.
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 Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one
Bulgaria.
I was
There you
thinking of.
go.
So
There you go. Yeah.
Bulgaria, Sofia is the capital now. It's like now it comes to me. So yeah, so I could go to maybe to Greece, Bulgaria, and Turkey as a trip because they're all they all borderline each other, and that's an area that interests me. So is the Balkans. The Balkans is an area that interests me. Like I've been to Serbia and Montenegro before,
Yeah.
and Croatia, and that's a nice area. I always thought I would want to go to now. Where am I? Where is that country? To now, I can't even find what I'm looking for once again. To Macedonia, because Skopje, which is the capital of Macedonia, and Macedonia is only a small country, but it borders 6 other countries
It does.
around it. So
Yeah.
I've always in the back of my mind thought Skopje might be a good place to go and base myself for a month or 2 months and hire a car. And you could drive into Kosovo, you could drive into Albania, you
Yeah.
can drive into Bulgaria, you can drive into Greece, you can drive into Macedonia, which is
Absolutely.
so yeah, so there's a lot of countries around there that you could
And it's probably Macedonia. I wouldn't imagine it to be too expensive. I mean,
No.
you could probably get good accommodation, good quality accommodation, and at an affordable price. And from there on, just plan your trips. That's actually a good idea because you are right. It's in the middle of
Middle of the Balkans sort of area,
Southeast Europe, really. Yeah.
So I've always thought that that Skopje might be a good place to base yourself for a few months and explore all around it. Yeah, because I'd say that there's a lot of borders close to it for a small country. So you can definitely tick off a few other countries around that area to have a look at. So, but yeah, so I would say that Greece, the pyramids are another big one, and I would like to go to South America at some stage, and probably go to Argentina or to Patagonia at the bottom of Chile. Look, I could keep reeling off places for forever and ever, but yeah, I don't really know if I've got any really, 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 really strong bucket list places. Like there's a lot of places I'd like to go to, and there's not one that I feel like I have to go to before I die or anything like that. I know some people are driven by a mission that they have to. Have to go.
Well, you have already traveled quite a bit, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been to a lot of places.
Yeah.
So there's maybe I could go to South Africa and do a safari and see the Big Five. I think that would be.
Oh yeah,
be pretty cool to go see the lion and the tiger and the giraffe and the hippo, and there's one other that make up the Big Five safaris as they call them, and you can do a day Big Five safari from Cape Town, and it's only a couple $100 like a person, which seems pretty reasonable for what you're going to see. I don't quite know whether I trust the safety issues in South Africa, but they reckon if you stay in the tourist part of Cape Town, it's very safe, it's very modern, it's very pretty, and it looks really pretty. Actually, Cape Town, they've got a gondola that goes up to the top of that mountain. It's not Cradle Mountain, that's in Tasmania, but it's some sort of mountain there behind it, and the beaches are beautiful. Wouldn't go in the beach too much. A lot of sharks there though, but But yeah,
and penguins. I guess they have penguins as well. Yeah,
too. The same latitude as Australia, so they're similar weather patterns as well as what we do here in Australia. So I could definitely see myself going to there.
I recently saw a documentary, a travel doc on South Africa, and it's there are certain areas where you wouldn't want to go. The thing about South Africa, because we've been discussing this as well, my wife and I, it's one of the places we haven't been, and we know a lot of people who have been there. And they talk highly of it, and they're really, really, were really satisfied with their experiences there. And I can actually absolutely relate to that. I can understand why, because it is beautiful, and the culinary. I mean, the South African kitchen. You eat well.
Yeah.
It's heavily meat based,
Yeah.
and yeah, no, it's all good. The thing about it is, it's very split, because there's a very poor part of
Yeah.
South Africa that you are not going to see as a rich tourist coming
That's it.
from anywhere outside. You won't see it. You will drive in protected cars,
Yeah.
drive by these shanty towns, yeah, poverty and crime is a huge thing in South Africa, and yeah, they try to, kind of protect the tourist from that.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
so yeah,
They don't want you to see. They don't want you to see the less glamorous
no, of course not.
parts of it. But it's another one of them destinations, I guess, much like coming to Australia. It's a long way away from everywhere. Like, for you, so it's even a long way away for Australians. I think it's like 10 or 12 hours from Australia as well. So, and there's not really any other countries around it, Zimbabwe, but, I think they're in, sort of political and economic strife as well, and things like that. But then I say that, and I think sometimes, you get a picture in your mind, and then you go somewhere and it's totally different.
Yes.
Like you go, oh, that's dangerous, or that would be rugged, and, and you go there and you go, well, it's not really. It's just another city in another country, and if you, if you're sensible about what you do,
Of course, I mean, surely you could go to less glamorous places in South Africa, as long as you don't wear your Rolex and all your jewelry, and just tone it down a bit, right? Yeah. But yeah, you're right about Africa. Africa is a thing where we're actually pretty much in the same time zone, more or less, here in Europe, and it's not too far to fly down, and it would be a whole different cultural experience, to say the least. And I'm sure it would be pleasant. Mostly, it would be a pleasant experience. I'm reading a lot of books from people who've been there, and they all say it's like you say, it's not as bad as people would think.
No.
It's you hear about these revolutions, you have dictatorships, you have all these things in the old colonies, and yeah, but still, it's. People have their everyday life. They just live peacefully, obviously in somewhat poverty, but you can have good travel experiences, and it's they welcome you because you bring, as a tourist, you bring money. Yeah,
definitely.
You bring money, and
definitely
So
that's what they want.
Yeah, they don't have much else to live on. So no, it's yeah.
I think it'd be quite good to go to
absolutely
South Africa for sure. But like I said, there's not many places that I could say I really wouldn't go to. You know what I mean? Like, there's actually I can't really think of anywhere where if someone said, if I gave you a free ticket, would you go there? I'd say, yeah, for sure. Like,
I would even consider going to North Korea. It's one of those destinations where is it as bad as they say? I've been following a YouTuber who's been there, and he said it was really scary, but he has to create some buzz about create some buzz around his videos, but
that's it. But
I don't think it's
the DMZ. I've stood on the border and looked over into North Korea.
Oh yeah.
About as close as we got. We went to the border, and there's like an elevator platform where you can look into there with your binoculars. You can see the North Korean flag, and they play North Korean music at different times. And we actually went down. There's this tunnel underground, and like I don't know if the juice was worth the squeeze, but you had to walk about a kilometre underground. There's this door, and there's a hole in the door, and you can see the other side where North Korea is too. There's the soldiers on the other side, and that's about as close as you can get.
Yeah.
so yeah, but it was an interesting trip because we went from Seoul to Seoul's actually really close to the North Korean border.
Yeah, it is.
60 kilometers away.
That's why they have these hot air balloons that they send over from North Korea with garbage, don't they? Just to terrorize them.
Yeah, so it was quite an easy day trip if you're ever in Seoul to go to the DMZ. You go there's a train station right on the border, and like it's all set up like an international train station, just waiting for the day that North Korea, allows trains
Yeah.
to go back in. Like, and you can get a stamp from this train station, which is right on the border. And if it ever happens, who knows? But it would be an interesting train ride because it would then connect onto the Trans Siberian if they opened North Korea up, because you could go from the bottom of South Korea to Busan, and you could go all the way around to Europe if North Korea
Yeah.
was opened to train travel. So speaking of train travel, this actually is a bucket list item. Is I really want to do the Trans Siberian
Yes.
from Beijing to St. Petersburg. It is a big one actually on my list. To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure I'll enjoy it. I don't know if I'll enjoy sitting on a train for that long, but it's something that I want to do. But in saying that, I would probably get off every day. Like, I would definitely book a lot of stops on the way
Yes.
to see a fair bit of Russia as I was going past, and I'd definitely get off in Mongolia, which sort of give me a little bit of a thought about next time I go to China and see Willow, if we go for an extended period of time, whether I can get a train from Beijing to Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia. I think it's only 12 hours or something like that, and go have a look in the capital of Mongolia for a couple
Yeah.
of days, and then come back to Beijing. So I was actually only thinking this before the episode. So it's something I might look into, because if I'm in China, I could nip over the border for a few days and check out Mongolia.
Do you have an idea of what that would cost, like going from Beijing to, say, Paris or
I don't at this stage, but I think
okay.
it was somewhere around $5,000 at
Yeah.
one stage a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
That's depending on what sort of class you wanted to be in. Like, there's private rooms, and then there's communal and things like that. So,
Yeah.
but I was also told though that it's a lot dearer if you buy it in the West than actually just rolling up into Beijing and possibly booking it like at the train station in Beijing, like a week in advance, or I mean, you'd be running the risk that you may not get when you want to get, I guess, doing that. And if you're going to book through a travel agent in the West, well, they're certainly going to take their
Oh
fair
yeah.
share off it.
You can count on it. Yeah.
So yeah, so you could book it that way. I know there used to be a site where you could book every leg of it, and you could pick where you wanted to stay, how long you wanted to stay. You could book your hotels in towns that you wanted to get off in, all this sort of thing like that. So
Because it's stuff like that's really. I mean, train travel is expensive. It's way more expensive than it should be. Obviously, they have huge cost of maintaining the rails and all of that. So I sort of understand it, but in other ways I don't, because it's could be
already there.
Yeah, and the government should make sure they have a proper infrastructure but what I want to say about train travel is that this is a good way to actually experience and feel how big the world is, the distances. Because when you step on a plane and then 12 hours later you're in Hong Kong, if you fly from Europe, you don't really understand the distance that you have just traveled. Right.
Well, this is it. And the Trans-Siberian basically covers half the Earth, like half the known
Exactly. Yeah.
landmass, really.
Yeah.
So it's quite an undertaking.
It is. It is. And if you spent like a month or two, traveling that
there's
distance.
Enough towns along the way to get off. I'm just having a look here what they're telling me. AI is telling me the current cost is about, a basic trip can cost, I don't know how much a ruble is, 40,000 rubles to 400,000 rubles. Let's just have a look at my currency converter. So what is 40,000 rubles? Hang on. Open up currency converter. Add currency. Russian ruble. So 40,000, which is what they're saying the base cost would be. Oh, there you go. So the base cost, they're saying, if it starts at 40,000, I don't know how long ago AI scraped this information, is starting at around 380 euros or 665 Australian dollars. So that would be in shared accommodation, I'd say, in rooms where, you're in a bunks everywhere and,
Yeah.
no real privacy, shared shower and things like that, I would guess. But so I guess, even if you doubled that or even tripled that to around $2,000 or something
It's
like
actually
that,
not that bad.
No, not at all. It would have to be fairly cheap because I don't think there would be people in Russia. There'd be normal people in Russia traveling on this.
Yes, of course.
So I guess they would have to have a certain economy class that can afford it. Sort of much like China does, I guess. They have a lot of options because a lot of Chinese don't have a lot of money. So that's definitely one I would like to do. But like I said, I'd like to get off at a lot of the places along the way, even just for a couple of days or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
you should,
but I mean,
absolutely.
There's two different routes. I mean, they call the Trans-Siberian. Most people think the Trans-Siberian goes from Beijing, but I think that's actually the Trans-Manchurian that goes from Beijing, and the Trans-Siberian goes from Vladivostok. So most people, I'd like to go to Vladivostok though because it's right on the edge. Basically, it's the edge of Russia in Asia. Like it's
Yeah.
it's only, you can get a ferry to Japan, and you can get a ferry to South Korea from there, and things like that. Like it's so the world is so really interconnected. Like, and you don't know until you look at things. It's like you can get a ferry from where Willow lives to South Korea, and then from there you can get a ferry to Japan. Like,
Yeah.
And these are all only one overnight ferries. Like,
Yeah.
I tend to think of things in a large scope because of where I live and the fact that everything is so far away from me. So when I see that, that you can catch a ferry, or catch train, or even drive to another country like you guys can, I just blows my brain.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, for me, Japan is also like a big thing. It's currently what we sort of are able to see here from researching the price levels. It's rather expensive to go to Japan and accommodation, because from Europe you wouldn't just go for a week, you would go for like 3 or 4 weeks. So it's not just the plane the plane tickets are actually sort of affordable, but then comes like hotel or accommodation and eating and stuff like, and that is fairly expensive in Japan at the moment. Yeah.
And in reality, Japan at the moment, and things will still seem expensive, is for Australia anyway. I don't know what its currency rate is against the euro. It's the cheapest it's ever been for Australians to go to Japan at the moment. So,
okay.
Wise, our dollar's worth about 30% more against the Japanese yen than it was 5 years ago. So,
wow.
Which is quite bizarre. So, and I think it was the second most popular destination for Australians in the last 12 months was to go to Japan. I was reading this the other day, and the Japanese government are actually urging Australians to don't just go to Tokyo and Kyoto and Osaka, because the capitals, these cities are starting to get overrun with tourists.
Yeah.
Because there's so many tourists going to Japan at present. So really.
It's popular amongst Europeans too. I mean, we know a lot of people who have either been just in recent years or are going, and we would love to do that too. We're actually thinking of maybe in 2 years we could go. There's a chance there before. Because our son is going for a year in boarding school in Denmark, and when he gets back, we actually have, before the school starts again here in Munich, we have almost 3 months where he does not have to go to school. So 3 months would actually open a window for us to go to Japan, travel more lengthily.
That would be good. It's been a long time since you've traveled at any length, hasn't it? So
it has, because we are, I think I've mentioned this before, here in Germany, we are kind of stuck to a rather rigid and fixed matrix of school holidays, and because in Germany you have you going to school physically is obligatory. You There's homeschooling is not allowed. So yeah.
Sounds like a plan. Then I'll meet you in Japan in 2 years' time. Then.
Yeah, we should. We should. Otherwise, while we're there on those lengths, we should take an extra trip going down to see you guys, because going to Australia is also, we've been to Australia. My wife has been there have been there several times, but it's another thing that we definitely are going to do. At some point, we are coming back to Australia. I would also really love to go to New Zealand again. That's
I'll come to New Zealand with you. I'd like to go back. I've only been to New Zealand for 5 days.
Yeah,
quite enjoyed it. So I'd like to go back to New Zealand definitely. So that would be that is on my list again. I've got so many places on my list. I've just been doing some planning in the last couple of days. I think we're gonna go to Lombok, which is an island off Bali. So people reckon it's like Bali was maybe 10 years ago. So we're looking at going there in maybe May for a week. So we'll fly to this it's not a little island. So the island's actually the same size as Bali when you look at it on a map, but very underdeveloped. Only a few major towns, a lot of scenic stuff, a lot of resorts along the beach, things like that. So we might. By then, I will actually have my scooter license, so it might be a good chance to get out on the scooters on an island that's not quite as busy as Bali before we take that on. So we might go to, have a look, we might go to Lombok for 6 or 7 nights. And because you have to fly out of Bali, we'll come back to Bali and spend 2 or 3 nights in Bali and come home. So that's maybe my plan for May, to go and do that, I think. So
yeah, I have never been to. I've never been to Bali, but everybody that I know who have been there say,
yeah, I've been torn. I've been there a lot of times, so I sort of get there and I go, am I wasting going back there? So that's why, hence, if we go to Lombok, it's somewhere different. I don't mind if I'm going somewhere different. I just don't want to go. I struggle going to the same place all the time when there's so many other places to see, basically, that I haven't been to. So yeah, but Bali's easy because it's only 6 hours from Australia. It's only 2 hours time difference, so we can go, we can come back, we can go back to work the next day. Like that. It's convenient more than anything, and 5.5 hours to 6 hours is good flying time. It's not too much of a pain.
It's like Europeans going to Mallorca or something.
Yeah.
Or Canary Islands
or somewhere. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. So it's sort of like that. I mean, I would love to, go to Sri Lanka. I haven't been there. That's sort of on my list. I'd like to go to Japan, like you said. I'd like to go to Taiwan as well. As I keep reeling all these places off. There's even places in near Bali, East Timor or Timor Leste.
Yeah,
it's called. Which you could fly to and go there. I'd like to go to Komodo Island, which is near Bali, where all the Komodo dragons are.
Actually, our upstairs neighbors are going there in September, I think.
Yeah,
September. They're going to Komodo.
Yeah, so
they have some diving. They have some diving excursions. Yeah, so yeah, that's they're really looking forward to that. The Komodo.
Yeah. You can do some traditional cruises. I know a family who did a boat trip from Bali to there, and you sleep on the deck of the boat, and things like that. And they bring all the mattresses out, and you sleep on the deck, or you can go sometimes you can go on a better boat. I was looking at one the other day, which was 3 nights, 4 days. You have your own cabin with air conditioning, and it takes about 3 days to sail there from Bali, and then you pull up at Komodo and spend a few days there, and sail back. Like all these things were relatively good priced. I just want to leave and travel.
Yeah.
Fools me.
Yeah.
Such is life, isn't it? So, there are a few things that I really want to do. Add to the other million things I sort of want to do.
And that's the beauty of this nice blue planet on which we live. There are tons, endless opportunities to. Only your imagination and your personal taste will set the limits to where you can go. I mean,
I'd also like to go and do the Silk Road, like So there's another journey through Central Asia, from
Yeah.
China into Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan, because you can really then go all the way to Georgia and into Turkey and into Europe, so basically you could go from once again you could go from China all the way to Europe, but not via Russia, via Central Asia,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a big world. There's so many things I could do.
Yeah, and if it wasn't because I have a personal disliking of the big cruise ships. I'm not really a fan of them because they are really not. I mean, putting thousands of people on a big ship, with buffets and. We've seen in Venice how these big cruise ships come in and really disrupt the whole environment of a local community. If it wasn't for that, I would actually consider going on an Antarctic cruise.
Yeah.
I would love to go down there. Yeah, but the only way you can really go is unless you know people and are well connected. You could probably fly down there, but
Yeah.
yeah, unless you know any of that, you will have to go on a cruise, and I'm not really a big fan of that.
I went on a cruise last year for the first time, just the 3-day one out of Melbourne. I wanted to just dabble my toe,
Yeah,
and
have a cruising experience.
yeah, and see what it was like. Like it was okay. It's not something I would rush back for unless it was a specific reason. There's a lot of repositioning cruises where they sail at the end of the season to the other side of the world, which are relatively cheap
Yeah.
and good value. There was one out of Sydney last year that was going to Los Angeles, 21 nights. It was like $3,000 Australian, so you could basically go to LA. It stopped about 5 or 6 places on the way: Hawaii, Fiji, here or there for a day. And so things like that were good value. I actually went on a Virgin Voyages cruise, which was an adults only. See lots of jokes about swingers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On these Virgin Voyages ones. I never saw any of that going on. Never seen any pineapples on doors. So for people who don't know, on a cruise ship, if there's a pineapple apparently hanging on the door, that means they're swingers. Such like this. Never seen any of that. But there's ongoing jokes about these. If you watch YouTube,
Yeah.
Type in Virgin Voyages, they're like, we went on the adults only swingers cruises, or things like this. But or it could have been happening. It may have been happening. I don't know. I didn't see it, but it was only out of Melbourne. So they sent the boat to Melbourne for a season, and then packed up and went back to Europe after that, and didn't come back this year. So one season in Melbourne, and we only had 3 days. We were meant to go and dock in Tasmania and come back, but the weather was shitful, so we didn't even dock. We just cruised up and down the north coast of Tasmania and back into Melbourne after 3 days. And I can't say I loved it. Eating was like in a food hall in a shopping centre because there's just people everywhere. There really wasn't that much to do unless you wanted to sit around the pool and drink $20 cocktails and things like that. It'd be all right. Like I said, if you're stopping in different places, it might be okay. And look, I must say, probably 25 years ago, when I was probably into drinking a lot more and partying and things like that, I think it would probably be a good thing when you're young. Like if you had some friends and you wanted to go and kick up your heels, buy the all-inclusive drink card and things like that, and go crazy. But yeah, for me, it's probably not. It's not on the top of my list of something I need to do again in a hurry. I'd like to go possibly like you on a cruise to maybe Alaska or the fjords in Norway and
up the coast of Norway. Yeah,
things like that. Like that would be nice. And but more just catch a ferry. I still want to catch that ferry from Denmark to Iceland that we talked about.
Yeah.
Today. So that's, things like that are on my list. So, and I might even catch a ferry from Lombok back to Bali, I think, which is about 4 or 5 hours. So there's an old car ferry that you can jump on that travels between Bali and Lombok. So that might be something different as well. So
yeah. I mean, it's just like you say. Probably we're too old for these cruise ship experiences. I mean, it's. But to me, it's also about. I just saw the world's. a video from the world's largest cruise ship ever launched, and I was just thinking, is it really necessary? Is it really like those dimensions? It's just ridiculous, and yeah.
But they love it, like in America. There's all these cruises from Miami, into the Bahamas and the Caribbean and back.
Yeah, I've been to one of those as well. That was work related, but still, it was. It's not that it's a bad experience, like you say. No. It's just
It's not an experience really I would choose to do first.
Yeah, no, I agree. And
I mean, I know plenty of people who love cruises. Like my parents used to love cruises. They went on 5 or 6 of them, and for some people, I can see the convenience of it.
Yes,
they only have to get up. Go feed yourself anytime you want. If you want to get off the boat when it docks, you get off. You have a short few hours of sightseeing. You come back on the boat, get fed. You can have a couple of drinks, go to the cinema at night or the stage show. Everything's in the one area. There's no hassle about going out, getting jobs, finding your way home. Everything is right there in your face. So for people, I can see the attraction for some types of travelers. That's or more holiday makers.
Me too.
I shouldn't say.
Yeah. Absolutely, there's a lot of convenience to it, and I think that's fine. The way we are used to traveling here in our family is just it doesn't fit. It just doesn't fit me either. No. So yeah. Right, Mark. Another hour and a little more.
It's gone. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So this has been yet another great episode, I think, from Southern Summers and Northern Winters. Thank you for listening.
Yes, we hope you all listen.
Yeah,
and comment.
And comment, like we say all the time. Please do let us know that you're there. Let us know that you're listening. It would be lovely to hear from you. We will be back anyway. We will be back soon again. So thank you very much for listening, and have a great week.
No worries. We will. Everyone, stay with us. We'll be back next week.
Yes, we will. Bye.